Testing, testing. Okay, welcome to the Dominion. This is a collaboration with about 4 people currently around the globe that are working on a Conic solver plugin for Grasshopper for Rhino 3D. And we are releasing as fast as we can the GitHub repository, which will go public soon enough, and try and get a Dominion uh, website up and running. And literally, we're going off the theme of each one teach one, and we're inviting anyone and everywhere to kind of jump into this site. It should be the Dominion website, which we'll have up, I think, later today. And then there will be links within that. This is just a test site here, but you can see it's basically each one teach one, TD, the Dominion, a Conic solver plugin for Grasshopper. The download you can jump to fairly quickly, and it'll send you right to the download into Grasshopper, which is a mathematical conic solver. And if I go back, let's see where we were. At Patreon, we've opened up an account, which really isn't so keen on getting the tiers and getting everything ready, but we want to know if people are actually interested in having live feeds. The website itself is going to be set up pretty simply. That this intro page, this will become a little more live and jivey soon enough. Info is going to be a running blog that will answer a lot of questions, probably everything tied to Visual Script Studio and C# and everything Daniel Christev is doing. He'll be able to answer there. And then there'll be a lot of kind of responses and conversations around what Peter and myself, Peter Davis and Mike Wickerson, are doing regarding links to YouTube tutorials and visuals of nice renders and also some beautiful animations coming out of working with this node. So the info page will be a blog. There's nothing there currently yet. The links is pretty blank, but that will go off to, if you want to get a sense of some of those links and what was happening there, you can jump into the Patreon and scroll down and see some of the video posts. I believe new draft published. There should be 4 up that I've compiled, which are basically just a reaction before and after making this node. And we are kind of pioneering this into new directions all the time, so we won't stay still on a lot of things. And hopefully people will take an interest in it. The visuals will be hopefully, pretty fantastic. Peter's produced some really nice ones, and I know Daniel's been working with my wife on Beth Wickerson on some pretty nice file forms that I know nothing about. And then we will map out, I think our last page will be a map of the globe. The 6 of us, 4 of us represent over 6 different countries, at least by birth and by where we reside now. And we're hoping that it's an extremely international project. And we really are going on the idea of each one teach one. And that was Peter Davis's idea, which we all like. So without spending too much time on that, I'll close it out. Daniel has produced, not only in the samples on the GitHub, if you download it from Food for Rhino, he's produced some much more simpler scripts than me. I've produced some pretty chaotic 3 master scripts that are going into the future of where I want to go, and you can see how they trail off into a lot of mathematics and curves that I want to slowly make into similar components instead of just dealing with the conics. So we can do some things in calculus and limits at this point, so differentials and all these wonderful things and integrals. So that's where I hope to go. But for the 2 scripts that Daniel's created, I'm just going to jump onto them, and I haven't even played with them. But I've done similar things to produce the icons. If you download, you will have these files up and running. There's one here that doesn't have an icon yet. It does, but I don't think I have the latest version. And what you'll see is Daniel's put in some very nice scripts that the first 2 inner and outer tangents are represented here. And if I put it on this file, you'll see with 2 circles that you've generated, I'll just hit Shift, and boom, you can have the inner tangents from that circle, and you can have the outer tangents. Nice geometry to start with. I won't spend too much time on it to get them all up and running. The next one is the 5-point solver. It's way over here, which is very nice. It has its focal points on that ellipse. You can start with 5 points, and boom, it's scripted right into a nice conic. If you right-click on it for help, you get the information that Daniel's really compiled from his back-end programming and development skills. There is a constructed quadratic parabola, which I just think is fantastic, because you have these, it looks like it's changed it a bit, which is actually kind of nice. The coefficients, there'll be constants involved here, there'll be variables playing off into here, and you can actually script pretty nice things, and he's got that running through a couple of sliders, so if I change it, I have to wonder where that conic form is going to flip and alter. And I'm not getting much of a reaction because I'm not on the right node. Hang on over here. Let's jump down here and you'll see this one behaving a little different as I slide through the sliders and position it in different spots. Very nice solver for a parabola, quadratic parabola. 3-point solver, also dealing with rotating planes, being able to grab that geometry over here. They're all uploaded onto the same site, so get playing with them and just think of these as inspirational kind of curves to start your geometry. For most things in Grasshopper, for me, architecturally or design-wise or sculpturally-wise, it really comes down to understanding the not just the points, but the attributes of those points, which are actually being driven by this solver, which is dealing with the conics. The next one is construct a rotating parabola, which is pretty nice, and he's thrown a 2-pi angle on there. So we deal a lot in radians. I think that's where Daniel lined up quite a bit. We're kind of excited about that. Very nice. And watch that little point down at the end, how it kind of moves around throughout there, which is pretty nice. It doesn't stay in a completely, the focal point has to move because of it. The 4-point parabola solver really does some wonderful things. It produces 2 parabolas. I think that's very nice for design and what you might want to do with it. And then there's another page which we'll get to. But what Daniel's done is he's gotten into Rhino, and I think this started because he sparked the discussion like there's no parabola tool in Grasshopper. So that's where we kind of thought to go off in this way. And he's wonderful with expression nodes. So in here he's found, well, here's a limit to Rhino right now as it stands, that you've got a regular angle component that defines angles in a positive domain from 0 to pi, and he's simply scripted one that we think more, and I think I've used the language of that on the icon to actually produce a pretty interesting geometry that could actually produce the angle from negative pi to all the way through to pi, so from 0 to 2 pi rotation. So that's nice. And then we can jump into the second one, which is a 3-dimensional model, which I really think is nice. I haven't spent too much time on this yet, but Daniel's gone in here and produced some really nice things. Always appreciating. Let me just jump in here to params and grab a little bifocal. Daniel and I also, I hope I didn't call him David, I probably just did. Daniel and I have a healthy appreciation for domains and ranges and what happens with those. And he's actually done some really nice to produce some very interesting objects. Let's grab a little parabola here and enable it and take it to preview. There's a wonderful parabola he's produced through here from what his nodes can make. He's got some hyperbolas and a revolution here, so we'll hit preview on. Really nice shapes and geometries that these nodes are capable of doing, and fantastic to get in here and have a look at what's being generated. I think he's done a wonderful job, and of course he's brought alive the deconstruct hyperbola node, the construct hyperbola node. Down here he's got ellipsoid on a revolution as well, so let's take that on. Another nice 3-dimensional volume utilizing his conic solver node and his deconstruct conic node. So you really want to get in here, download this from the package manager, get it up and running, have fun with these nodes, and see what type of geometries you can do in parametrically and computationally in Grasshopper now that you maybe were doing back statically in Rhino for a while. He's also deconstructed the hyperbola here, constructed the quadratic, deconstructed the quadratic, and then taking it through a little bit of the fancy maths that Daniel's so good at, and merging tools and bringing things back together, a hyperbolic paraboloid in the end. What a beautiful form that he's actually pulled out. So I haven't gone in and done anything fancy with these, which is my tendency to kind of go off, but to have these as basic nodes and scripts, look at that wonderful, model for you to begin with and take and bake. And if you did that, you could do that all in one go, which is a little nuts, but there you go. Took no time at all. Get my beautiful face out of the way and pull this Rhino back over to here. Bam. And we'll just take this to a render and see what we actually have going on here. And there you go. Wonderful control, wonderful big forms, and something that maybe you wouldn't have generated initially in Rhino. You were quite capable of doing it if you wrapped your head around it, but these nodes are going to make that incredibly simple as you go in and use them. So thanks very much. We're going to get going with the Dominion. We're going to have some live conversations. We just have to find the time that one of us isn't in bed because one's in New Zealand, one's in Germany, and one's in the Midwest of the United States, and another one is there as well. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see where this goes.